So good morning. We are back to the study of the book Liberation. We are starting today the last chapter. Finally, we get to the to the rescue of Gregorio. We studied last month in the last chapter the conversation between Gubbio, Margarida, and Matilde. Margarida is the obsessed woman that was rescued, that was helped and assisted, that we followed her story very closely. She's now prepared to receive Matilde as her daughter, the spiritual guide, the inspiration for this work, and the mother of Gregorio that is asked Gubbio and the team to rescue him. He's the leader of the lower zones, of one of the parts of the lower zones. So now it's the preparation to rescue Gregorio. And we are going to divide this last chapter. It's a long one. We're going to divide into classes. We're going to do the first part today. We are going to end a little bit earlier today because of the event we have in the afternoon. Okay, so Zoraida, you read for us?
Yes. Rendezvous. It was getting late at night. Our instructor looked around, seemingly to consult the landscape outside in a brooding, pensive mood. He gazed lovingly at his spiritual daughter, who was now convalescing in safe, gentle repose. He prayed for a long time at her side and then told us it was time to go. Like birds returning to the nests of peace and hope, we now had to carry other wounded birds threatened by the tormenting passions. All the souls who have been helped there were to leave with us for other arenas of regenerative, redemptive activity. Even the suffering, kindly spirits who were on the edge of madness due to the imbalance of their sentiments had tears of joy and gratitude in their eyes. In each one beat the yearning for rectification and new life. Perhaps that is why they cast a troubled yet joyous look at our guide, as if they were devouring his words. As long as they are firm in their purpose of self-restoration, stated Gubbio paternally, all those who have been incorporated into our mission here will have access to circles of worthwhile work. There, students of the good and of the light will welcome their aspiring to a better life. But I hope they are not expecting any miracles. The endeavor of readjustment is itself an article of irrevocable law in every corner of the universe. No one should anticipate undeserved protection or sweet-smelling flowers from the bitter seeds that sow in the past. We are all living books regarding what we think and do, and the crystal clear eyes of divine justice are reading us at every moment. If there is a human ministry on earth that guides the lower life forms of the planet soil, we too have the ministry of angels who direct our evolutionary pathways in our rims of action. No one can betray the established principles. We possess today what we gathered yesterday, and we will possess tomorrow what we are gathering today. And since it is always harder to amend something than to do it right in the first place, we cannot rely with favoritism on the laborious endeavor of individual growth, nor can we expect a peaceful and immediate resolution for problems that we spend many years weaving together. Prayer helps, hope soothes, faith upholds, enthusiasm reinvigorates, and the ideal illuminates. But our own effort on the road to the good is the soul of our hoped-for accomplishment. Consequently, even here, the blessing of the minute, the gift of the hour, and the treasure of daily opportunities should be utilized appropriately if we are aiming for sanctifying ascent. Happiness, peace, and joy do not happen by chance. They are acquisitions of the soul as if it works incessantly to renew itself as it carries out the divine designs. Fortunately, since we are sheltered in the sanctuary of goodwill at this moment, we must not forget the gospel promise. Those who persevere to the end will be saved. Without a doubt, heavenly grace is a permanent, sublime sun, but it urges us to cultivate our higher qualities so that we can receive its rays.
Okay, thanks, Zoraida.
You're welcome.
So they, Matilda, if you remember from last chapter, Matilda left. She was manifesting herself through mediumship, mediumship in the spirit world. It does exist. Gubbio was the medium, the instrument for Matilde to materialize herself and to have a conversation with her former daughter, Margarida, and to rescue Margarida. So by the end of the chapter, Matilde left, and Gubbio left the trance state and went back to normal, right? He was looking around. His daughter, because Margarida is his spiritual daughter also, if we remember from the beginning of the book, he tells Andre Luiz that he needs help to rescue his daughter. And Margarida is now in, as they say here, in repose. He prays. Now, when he said it's time to go, was time to go where they are going? They are going to the place where they will receive Gregorio and have the whole conversation between Matilde and Gregorio that is going to be the end of the book. But they have a group of spirits with them that Andre Luiz says, we now had to carry other wounded birds threatened by the tormenting passions. Who are these wounded birds? Why none of them was mentioned before? So again, the work of rescue and assistance, it's an individual / collective work. Every time we mentioned this many times in our mediumship meetings, every time we are talking to a spirit, we are helping other spirits that are there also to receive the assistance that will be helped by the words, by the assistance that we are providing. So when they rescued Margarida and they helped Saldanha, if you remember, the main tormentor of Margarida, the main obsessor that was working in the name of Gregorio, there was a large group of spirits there in the residence that were also either attracted by the spiritual energy, the low energies of the ambient, of persecution, of obsessing. And when Gubbio rescues Saldanha and rescues Gaspar, which is the other of the main assistants to Saldanha, there is a lot of spirits that are there and are touched and see an opportunity to be rescued and are assisted and rescued also. Remember, the majority of us, we are followers, we're not leaders. So these spirits, they are following the leaders that are tormenting someone, but they have their own struggles and their own desire to be rescued, but they don't know how. So the moment a window of opportunity opens for them to be rescued, and they see the light, so to say, of a more evolved spirits, they also surrender to the rescue mission. So they are not only rescuing Margarida, they are not rescuing Saldanha, but also a group of spirits, other spirits, which are the wounded birds. Now, these souls, as Andre Luiz says here, they cannot go by themselves because they don't know where to go. They are connected to one another and dependent on the team, Gubbio's team, that is rescuing them. So they need to be carried, helped in their travel towards a place of assistance. If you remember, those that studied with us the book Workers of Eternal Life, each of the spirit that studies 5 cases of discarnation, each of the spirits that it discarnates is helped and transported with the assistance of spirits to the place, to the transitory house of assistance, where they're going to receive the their first help. So they cannot go by themselves. So these are spirits that need to be accompanied. You know, they will, in a sense, be transported, not like we know here in the physical world, in a car, in an ambulance, but it's a transportation that they will carry the spirits, so to say, in the spiritual world to the places that they are going to be assisted. But before they go there, they need to go to the place where Gregorio is going to be helped, and that's where they are going first. So Andre Luiz talks about the spirits here. In each one be the yearning for rectification and new life. So they are looking at Gubbio with happiness and worry, because they left something behind that they don't know exactly what they are going to face. So they are anxious and they are nervous, of course. Gubbio tells them that as long as they are firm in their purpose of redemption, of improvement, they will have access to the assistance. They will have the opportunity of worthwhile work. Where they are going, they will be welcomed by workers of the good and the light. So we have workers, and we talk on this frequently to spirits on our Monday mediumship meeting, the spirits that come to be rescued, that they are in a house of assistance. There are many workers in this house of assistance that they are taken to. So these places, they all have innumerous workers that want to be of assistance to the spirits that are in need. How do you become a worker in these places? Well, goodwill, disposition, willingness to help and to assist. A little bit of a learning, a lot of desire to help. So, you know, we can all be workers of these places when we go back to the spiritual world, and I'm sure that we have the basic qualifications to look for these places if that's what we want to do. There are several things to do back in the spiritual world, but this is one of the things that we can try to assist those spirits in need with the knowledge that we have, of course, combined with the desire and the heart. We can all be workers of the good and of the light if we so desire. But again, for the spirits being rescued, it doesn't come to them without them making their part. No one is going to receive undeserved protection, or as he says here, sweet-smelling flowers from what they sowed in the past. We all have to face the consequences of our actions. You know, they are being rescued, but they were there, connected to the inferior spirits, doing harm to others, either as followers or maybe as out of fear. So divine justice, as Gubbio says here, is reading us at every moment. We have the responsibility for all our actions. Now, the more we know, the more responsible we are. So these spirits, if they are just followers doing what others made them do without any real evil desire, but just inferior tendencies, acting on their inferior tendencies for lack of understanding, they are going to face less responsibility than some spirits that are the leaders and that they are doing evil for the sake of evil. But these are not the spirits that are being rescued here. And the Gubbio says, no one can betray established principles. We possess today what we gathered yesterday, and we possess tomorrow what are we gathering today. Like Chico Xavier told us, we cannot change the past, but we can build the future at each day of work. So everything we're doing today, we're building our future. What we did in the past is already there. What we can do is try to make amends and try to help those we hurt when we have the opportunity. But there is no to be wallowing in the suffering for what we did in the past and not doing anything actively. It doesn't really help us. Gubbio continues here, it's always more difficult to correct something, to amend something, than to do right in the first place. That's what we should try to do, right? We cannot expect an immediate and peaceful solution for problems that we spent many years weaving together. Of course, you know, the longer we've been stuck in our errors, the longer it will take for us to repair them, to change our imperfections. And then he brings us something that is very important. That's in Spiritism we talked about all the time. Prayer helps, hope soothes, faith upholds, enthusiasm reinvigorates, and the ideal illuminates. But our own effort on the road to the good is the soul of our hope for accomplishment. We have to work. We cannot pray only, hope only, have faith only. We need to do our work. Surrounded by prayer, by hope, and by faith. Yes, we should have all of them, but all of them by themselves, without any action, doesn't take us anywhere. So this is very important, right? And this is one of the main things that Spiritism teaches us, that you are not going to find much out there in the other religions, right? They tell you to go to the church and pray and wait for the help. That doesn't work. The help will come if we do our part. Prayer helps, and yes, it's very important, because through praying, we are elevating our vibrations and we are connecting with the superior spirits that are there to help and assist us. So prayer is combined with faith, right? Hope, yes, to be positive, to have hope, to have the sincere desire that for things to get better. This all helps, but without us doing the work, nothing is going to happen. So he continues here, the blessing of the minute, the gift of the hour, and the treasure of daily opportunities should be utilized appropriately if we're aiming for a sanctifying ascent, that happiness, peace, and joy do not happen by chance. They are acquisitions of the soul as it works incessantly to renew itself as it carries out the divine designs. Meaning, we can achieve health, happiness, peace, and joy, but they are a result of our work. And then he finishes with the words from the gospel, right? Those who persevere to the end will be saved. And saved here is in the same sense of what Spiritism tells us. Without charity, there is no salvation. Salvation here It's not something external, it's something internal. We make our own salvation. We make our own progress through our work, through our effort to improve ourselves. We need to cultivate our higher qualities so we can receive the rays of the heavenly grace. Okay? Okay, a lot of very important information here that Gubbio gives to us, and I think it's all important that we stress this and remind ourselves. Any comments, questions? Okay, let's continue.
Okay. During a brief pause, we became aware of the joy all around us. Healthy optimism flooded every face. Savan, with eyes glued on Gubbio, amazed us with his abundant tears of purifying contrition. Before our instructor could continue the thread of his encouraging, vigilant discourse, a group of sisters began singing a hymn of praise to Christ's goodness. Their eyes used to be troubled and mournful, but they were now fearless, filling our hearts with unspeakable well-being. Beams of seraphim light were poured out abundantly over us as those harmonious, humble voices spread all around, touching the innermost fibers of our beings. The melodious hymn reminded us of the sublime thoughts of the unforgettable poems of David. When it ended, our instructor explained that, in spite of the sanctifying joy of that moment, the battle was not yet over. We still had to finish the epilogue. He explained in a serious voice. Matilda was waiting for us in an intermediate region where the vibratorial climate would enable her to materialize herself to everyone again, to accomplish the long dreamed for rendezvous with her son of times past, and who would soon come looking for us to get revenge.
Okay. So there's not much here, but there's just to reinforce here the last phrase that I underlined. So Gubbio stopped talking here. There is joy all around. Saldanha completely changed, right? Ready to follow Gubbio. Remember, Saldanha was the main tormentor of Margarida, the main responsible for the process of obsession. That was the intention, was to kill Margarida, to cause her discarnation, so she would go back to stay with Gregorio. Gregorio wanted her near him. So who is this group of sisters that began singing? It's spirits that were there being rescued. That's the group of spirit, part of the group of spirits that is being rescued, that is going to be transported to a place of assistance. As Andre Luiz says here, their eyes used to be troubled and mournful, but they were now fearless, filling our hearts with unspeakable well-being. It is a change that happens when you see light, you see an opportunity, you see a chance of redemption, and you feel a little bit free of the torments of the past, right? Of course, the beams of sapphire light, they were surrounded by protecting spirits that were helping them. But Gubbio reminds them that the battle was not over yet. They still needed to rescue Gregorio. So he says, Matilde was waiting for us in an intermediate region where the vibrational climate would enable her to materialize herself to everyone again, to accomplish the long dream for rendezvous with her son of times past, and who would soon come looking for us to get revenge. Where are they? Why do I need to go to another region? You need to, for this type of work that they are going to do, they need to be in an intermediate region. What is an intermediate region? It's not an ossular region. It's not the deep lower zones region where Gregorio is. A place where Matilde and the workers will be protected and will receive the assistance. The vibrations of the place would allow her work to fulfill what they are hoping for. She's going to materialize herself again. Mediumship in the spiritual world, materialization. Okay, this is as we are going to see in the afternoon, mediumship of physical effects that it's less and less available here in the physical world. We have less and less mediums of physical effects because the intelligent effects are the ones that are really important for us, for the work that we're doing today. But in the spiritual world, Matilde is going to materialize herself for Gregorio, her son of times past, as they say here. Gregorio is coming with a large group of spirits looking for revenge. So they are going to the battlefield, so to say, in the spiritual world, a place where Matilde is preparing herself and the spirits, the group of spirits that will help and assist her in order to receive Gregorio and his group of spirits. And how is Gregorio going to end up there? Well, it's all in the spiritual world, it's all a matter of vibrations, right? They will attract him through the connections that he made with Gubbio before, and with Saldanha and everybody. He can find them, even if they change their vibrational tone to a more uplifting one, they are still somehow connected to Gregorio, and will be able to attract him and his team to this place where they are all going to be rescued and assisted. Okay? Questions? Comments? Okay.
Okay. Displaying obvious concern in his lucid gaze, our guide explained that Gregorio was aware of the new developments in Margarita's drama and was informed about the renewal of several of his colleagues and co-workers, now openly inclined to the good and weary of ignorance, hatred, perversity, and folly. Consequently, he had revolted against him, Gubbio, and was about to come looking for him to settle accounts. He explained that a spiritual duel like the one about to be fought was going to require all of us to help with our prayers and mental emissions of pure love. We were not to view Gregorio's insults and affronts as personal offenses, or regard his attitude as a result of malice or unkindness. We were to see in his gestures of incomprehension the pain that had hardened his oppressed and rebellious spirit, and see in his words not deliberate malice, but the outpouring of a sick and unhappy rebel who was harming no one but himself. Thought is vigorous force that commands the tiniest impulses of the soul, and if we surrendered to its spiritual reaction, armed with hatred and disharmony, we would be joining forces with violence and would impede not only Matilda's providential manifestation, but the renewal of Gregorio, the entity whose intelligence was bent on evil. Emissions of bitterness or revenge would be counterproductive. Vibrations of fraternal love, like those bequeathed to us by Christ, are energies that actually dissolve the vengeance, persecution and disorder, pride and selfishness that torment the human experience. Furthermore, we were to remember that mind, having strayed off the divine trail, was characterized much more by the disease of wounded and impenitent pride than by wickedness. Gregorio was merely an unfortunate wrench, just like we ourselves were in the near or far-off past, spurred on by inner rebelliousness and remorse that disarrayed his sentiments. Consequently, he deserved our loving and comforting dedication, even if he seemed like a miscreant or lunatic. Moreover, such behavior should not be surprising, since to teach us nothing else, Christ toiled on behalf of all, yet suffered on the cross all alone. Our instructor added that when he came to us, the priest of the darkness would be accompanied by several companions that were as mentally poisoned as he was. And then in order to fight against that team of enemies of the light, we would have to form a fully harmonious defense with authentic fraternity, intercessory prayer, and a spiritual love that feels compassion and acts in favor of restitution to the good. When Gubbio paused, Saldanan asked him if it might not be better to at least organize a coordinated, energetic repulsion defense, to which Gubbio responded with a smile. Saldanan, in the company of the master whom we embrace, there is only room for wholesome work involving an understanding of the lessons of sacrifice and humiliation that he left us. One blow cannot be neutralized with another blow. We cannot heal one wound by causing an even worse one. Healing only occurs as a result of care, medicine, and rehabilitation based on love. Those who plan on the reign of Christ must surrender to him. We are servants. Any defense depends on the Lord. The former persecutor humbly said nothing more.
Okay. So, Gubbio explains, of course, that Gregorio is aware of the new developments. He's informed about the renewal of several of his colleagues and co-workers. Zoraida and Carol, doesn't this sound like many spirits that come on our Mondays, knowing that you are there, invading my territory, picking my workers, and things like that. We see that many times. We hear that many times, right?
Yes.
So,
oh yeah, indeed. Yes.
So we understand how Gregorio is aware of everything that is happening, right? Of course. But for him, he's not aware that Matilde is behind it, because his own interaction was with Gubbio. His connection is with Gubbio. So his hatred is against Gubbio. And he's going to come after Gubbio and chase him. Gubbio knows it very well and is preparing himself and the team for the spiritual duel, right? And he explains, and that's very important, that all of those that are with him need to help with prayers and mental emissions of pure love, as opposed to curiosity. A lot of times we talk on our spiritual meetings also on Mondays, right? That we need to be careful, because sometimes there are very interesting cases, and sometimes our curiosity gets the better of us, right? We forget to keep ourselves in elevated thoughts, prayers, and emissions of pure love, and we start following the case in curiosity. It's not wrong. It's natural, but it doesn't really fully help, right? What is needed is prayers and mental emissions of pure love. And that's what he's asking of all the workers there. Of course, it is difficult to imagine that all the spirits that are being rescued and transported, that they will be able to do that, because they are recently freed from their troubles. And when they see Gregorio and his team coming, they are going to be afraid. Their first reaction will be fear, right? Again, how many spirits we talk on Monday, right? That escape from this group, and they are consumed by fear. They are consumed by the fear that they are going to be taken back to the place that they came from, that they are not protected. We have to tell them many, many times that they are protected in that environment, that nobody is going to touch them there, but they are afraid. So Gubbio is talking about this, fully aware that part of the spirits that will be there won't be able to provide any help and assistance in this sense, but that Andre Luiz, Eloy, they know better. They should be able to be there with these prayers and mental emissions of pure love. And of course, there are more spirits. Even Saldanha, that is already changed his predisposition and understands the work, he needs to know how to behave. And that's what Gubbio is preparing them for. Understanding that it's unlikely that they are going to form a group that's completely united in prayer and mental emissions of pure love. But the spiritual benefactors are able to isolate those that cannot enter into this into these mental vibrations and use the vibrations of the majority to protect the ambient, right? So for this, Gubbio continues, it's important that we don't view Gregorio's insults and affronts as personal offenses, or regard his attitude as the result of malice or unkindness. Again, something also that we say on Monday, right? They attacked us and we cannot take it personally. It's not directed at us, it's directed in the end at themselves, their own struggles and their own imperfections, and they need to attack someone. So we are there, so they attack us. But the moment you take it personally, you create a problem for yourself, because then you connect the energies, you vibrate at the same level, right? Because you take it personally, you feel personally attacked, and then you have a reaction. So Gubbio tells them they have to see his gestures of incomprehension as the pain that hardened his rebellious spirit, and not see malice, but a sick rebel spirit that in the end harms himself much more than he can harm any other. Again, when we act on our inferior tendencies, we cause more harm to ourselves than to others. Going back to Francisco Xavier, that phrase that he said that it's very important. When you hate someone, you send a copy and you keep the original, right? So you cause more harm to yourself than to the one you are hating. Thought is a vigorous force that commands the tiniest impulses of the soul. The importance of thought. Thought is matter. Thought is how we manifest ourselves and is seen by the spirits that can access our minds. So if we surrender to hatred or disharmony, what we end up is we join forces with Gregorio and his team, and they would prevent Matilde's manifestation, but also they would harm all the work. So they cannot send any emissions of bitterness, of revenge. This is very important. Whom Gubbio is addressing to. These spirits that were recently rescued, many of them were working under the command of Gregorio. So the first reaction they would have towards Gregorio is of bitterness and revenge. And Gubbio is trying to address them in the sense that they shouldn't. They should try not to feel that, because that's going to harm the work. Of course, he's not telling Andre Luiz because Andre Luiz has no bitterness of desire of revenge to Gregorio. He's working and rescuing. There's nothing personal. But all these spirits that are there, they need to vibrate fraternal love, because these are the energies that dissolve the vengeance, persecution, disorder, pride, and selfishness that torment the human experience. Again, this is up to apply for us at every moment of our lives. Vibrations of fraternal love are energies that dissolve all the negative sentiments, right? It's important for us to remember. And he says, Gregorio is just an unfortunate wretch, like we all were in the near or far off past, right? If we are here, it's because we are imperfect spirits still trying to make amends and reparations for all the harm that we have caused in our past, that thankful to the divine laws, to God's law, we cannot remember, because then we can work looking forward, not being stuck with our guilty sentiments or our ill feeling towards ourselves for our actions in the past. We all know that we did bad things. We all know that what we are today is the best version of ourselves, that we are in constant progress. That's what we are studying on Thursdays, the law of progress, right? So we all may commit many mistakes that disarrayed our sentiments, as they say here. So we need to work towards the future. And we need to understand that those that are still struggling are just like us. And we were in the past. And we for sure receive assistance and help of fraternal spirits. And now it is the time for them to help and assist this spirit that caused so much harm and so much pain to many of them. So again, the fact that Gubbio is telling this to all the spirits there does not guarantee that all of them will be able to do that, because each one of us have our own personal opinions, differences, and feelings. So, but if he can convince the majority of them to have these sentiments of hope, of love, of fraternal love, of positive vibrations towards Gregorio and the group, then the ambient will be much better and much more prepared to deal with that. And the minority that won't be able to do that will be isolated by the spiritual protectors, because of course Matilde is coming with her own team of spirits that are going to help prepare the ambient and take care of all the spirits that are there. Gubbio talks about, Jesus Christ that suffered in the cross all alone, right? For the responsibility of ourselves, our inferior actions towards him. And then Gubbio says that when Gregorio was going to come, he will be accompanied by several companions that were as mentally poisoned as he was. Of course, all these inferior spirits, they don't come by themselves. They come in groups. They come with a group of followers, spirits that are still connected with Gregorio's inferior tendencies and are looking for revenge, for all sorts of causing all sorts of disharmony, right? So Gubbio says that in order to fight a team of enemies of the light, they need to form a harmonious defense with authentic fraternity, intercessory prayer, and a spiritual love that feels compassion and acts in favor of restitution of the good. These are the tools that you have to fight against those that are going to come to attack. Darkness cannot survive light. Complete darkness can be erased just by lighting a candle. A little bit of light will stop darkness. So darkness cannot prevail over light. It's the opposite. Light will always prevail. Now, we have to be the instruments of light in a situation like that. The defense is fraternity, prayer, and love, compassion, and hope for restitution of good. Of course, Saldanha, at the moment, coming from the side that he came, right? He remembers how to work. He works with Gregorio and how he faced these situations. He asks if it's not better to, to fight with the same weapons that Gregorio is going to have, right? Organize an energetic repulsion defense, meaning trying to cause harm the same way that Gregorio is trying to cause harm. And Gubbio says, no, that one blow cannot be neutralized by another blow. If you are reacting to someone that is trying to hurt you, hurting them, you are going down to their own level. You are not getting anything positive out of it. We cannot heal one wound by causing an even worse one. So the healing, it's a result of care, medicine, and rehabilitation based on love. Again, love in the most ample sense, fraternal love, divine love. And he says, we are servants of the Lord. So we have to do the work and have faith that we are going to be assisted. If you remember, Gubbio, when Matilde asks him to go to see Gregorio and to begin this work, he mentions to her that if he becomes a prisoner of Gregorio, he's just fulfilling the work of the Lord, and he will be happily surrender himself. That's what he's saying here, that we can only give the best of ourselves and do the best that we can according to our knowledge and understanding. The rest is up to the Lord. If we do our best, whatever result comes out of it, it's what has to happen. We can only have a clean conscience that we did our best. We cannot do more than we know. We cannot teach what we don't know. So, but we know enough to work on a situation like this, giving love, fraternity, and prayer. That's all we can do. If we sincerely do that and surrender ourselves to the higher spirits, we are going to succeed sooner or later. We want always to see immediate results, but sometimes the results are not immediately, but they will happen. Okay? Okay, this is going to be all for today. Any questions or comments here? Okay, 50 minutes of me talking by myself. Okay.
You are not.
So now the rescue begins. So next month, you can see there are 12 pages left in this chapter. We'll follow the work of rescue of Gregorio itself. You know, we know it's going to work, otherwise we wouldn't have the book, right? Because it wouldn't make sense to Andre Luiz to bring to us the last chapter and then a failed rescue mission, right? That wouldn't make much sense. So spoiler alert, it's going to work. But how is the work? We are going to find out next month when we finish this book. And then the next book, if any one of you is curious, is called Between Heaven and Earth. That's the next book of the collection. And that's the book that starts with an intercessory prayer, something that we just read here. And you may ask, what is an intercessory prayer? It's a prayer that is addressed to someone that cannot answer the prayer, and is intercepted by spirits, because the person who is praying deserves the help and assistance and is going to receive the help and assistance. So is this girl praying for her mother that went back to the spiritual world, but the mother is in the process of obsessing the stepmother, so she cannot receive the prayer. But because the girl deserves the assistance, a group of spirits is going to be there and assist her. It's a very interesting book, very beautiful book that I presented some years ago. I presented the whole book in a lecture at SGNY, if you remember.
Yes.
Called Between Heaven and Earth. But before that, next month, we are going to finish the book Liberation, the second part of the last chapter. Okay.
Okay.
So next Sunday, which is the second Sunday of the month, we are going to study the Gospel according to Spiritism. For those that missed this Friday, the series Psychology and Spirituality started. Was the introduction. You can catch up the video on the United States Spiritist Federation YouTube page or the International Spiritist Council YouTube page. And I hope I can see some of you there in this afternoon. We have our mediumship forum starting at 2 p.m. at SGNY. It's building room 4A, and I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting event. Laura is going to give a testimonial on her mediumship, which is a beautiful testimonial that she already discussed with me. We are going to have Jussara presenting mediumship meeting according to Spiritism. We have Danielle from Yes presenting what is mediumship according to Spiritism. And then we will have a Q&A session. Please bring at least a couple of questions about mediumship that can be answered by Elmo, Jussara, or Danielle. Okay? Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure. Thank you very much, John. Very comprehensive. And thank you, everyone, for being here and participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for being together again as brothers and sisters for our studies of the book Liberation. We give thanks for a better understanding of the compassionate work of the high order spirits and their interaction, guidance, and prayers for difficult discarnate spirits. Spirits need to work toward their next reincarnation process through in-depth preparation, recapitulation, and actions that merit the best possible use of a future physical opportunity. Light will prevail over darkness. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, and the protector spirits for guiding us and inspiring us today and each and every day. May we receive love, light, and the peace of Christ within our hearts, within our minds, and in our daily endeavors. We pray for SGNY, the teachers, the directors, the counselors, the mediums, the workers, and of course, our family members. We pray for world peace, inner peace, and for all those who are suffering in the world, not just this world, but in the spiritual world as well. Excuse me. As we close our meeting today, we ask for safety and protection as we return to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. We remind ourselves, excuse me, we remind ourselves to go forward as beacons of light, of love, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. So be it. Go in peace.